I laughed when he found out the baby wasn't his. Now I'm alone, raising a child while he moved on. I never thought I'd be the villain in my own story. That's what they call women like me now, isn't it? The ones who make the wrong choices, who hurt people, who end up alone. I didn't see it that way. Not at first. My name is Mira Stevens, and 2 years ago, I thought I had it all figured out. I had a steady job as a graphic designer at a small marketing firm, a comfortable apartment in the city, and a relationship with Jake that had lasted 5 years. We weren't perfect, what couple is, but we had built a life together, piece by piece. Jake wanted to get married. I kept putting it off. Something always felt not quite right. I couldn't articulate it then, but looking back, I was restless. I had always been the spontaneous one, the free spirit. Jake was steady, reliable, predictable. He worked as an accountant, went to the gym 3 times a week, called his mother every Sunday at 6 p.m. He was a good man. The kind of man who deserved better than what I was about to do to him. The night I met Ethan was like something from a movie, one of those indie films where the lighting is too dim and everything feels slightly surreal. I was at a gallery opening for a friend's photography exhibition. Jake had begged off, claiming he needed to finish some work. I remember feeling annoyed, wanting him to be more interested in my world. Ethan was the opposite of Jake in every way. An artist with dark eyes and a smile that hinted at secrets. He talked about traveling through South America with just a backpack, about the paintings he was working on, about how he could see something different in me. "You don't belong with the 9-to-5 crowd," he told me that night, his fingers brushing mine as he handed me a glass of wine. "I can tell you've got fire." It was the kind of line that should have made me roll my eyes. Instead, I felt seen in a way I hadn't in years. One night became 2, became a week, became a full-blown affair. I told myself it was just physical, just an escape, just temporary. I told myself a lot of things. When I missed my period, I panicked. Jake and I had been careful, always careful. But with Ethan, there had been nights when caution was the last thing on my mind. The pregnancy test showed 2 clear lines. I sat on the bathroom floor for hours, phone in hand, unable to call anyone. I knew deep down, I knew the baby was Ethan's. But I couldn't bring myself to tell Jake that. Not after 5 years. Not when he had been talking about starting a family for the past 2. So I did what seemed easiest at the time. I lied. I told Jake we were going to have a baby. I watched his face transform with joy, watched him kneel down and kiss my still flat stomach, watched him immediately start making plans. "I'll convert the office into a nursery," he said, eyes bright with tears. "We should tell our parents this weekend. Do you think it's a boy or a girl? It doesn't matter, of course. Mira, I'm so happy." I smiled and told him I was happy too. The guilt was there, a low hum beneath my skin, but I pushed it away. I ended things with Ethan via text cowardly. I know telling him it was fun, but I needed to focus on my relationship. He didn't reply. For a few months, I managed to keep the charade going. Jake doted on me, bringing me tea in the mornings when morning sickness hit, massaging my feet in the evenings, reading pregnancy books by my side. He even proposed, presenting a ring one night over dinner at my favorite restaurant. "I wanted to do this right," he said, voice trembling slightly. "I want our child to have married parents. I want you to be my wife, Mira." I said yes, because saying no seemed impossible. The ring felt heavy on my finger, a constant reminder of my deception. Everything fell apart at the 20-week scan. I was showing by then, my body changing in ways that both fascinated and terrified me. Jake had taken the day off work to come with me. He held my hand as the technician spread cold gel over my stomach. "Let's see what we've got here," the technician said cheerfully, moving the wand. "There's the head. Spine looks good. And oh, do you want to know the sex?" Jake squeezed my hand. "Yes," we said in unison. "Looks like a little girl," she said, pointing to the screen. "Congratulations." I watched Jake's face, saw the wonder there, the love already forming for this child that wasn't his. The guilt I'd been suppressing surged up, threatened to choke me. The technician continued talking, going through measurements and checks. She said, pausing at one point. "That's interesting." "What's interesting?" Jake asked immediately, concern edging his voice. "Oh, nothing to worry about. Just noticing that baby has a genetic marker. See this structure here? That's quite distinctive. Actually, my husband has the same feature. It's called a Darwinian tubercle. That little point on the ear. It's a dominant genetic trait. Jake frowned. Neither of us has that. The technician smiled, clearly not picking up on the sudden tension. Well, these things can skip generations. Maybe one of your parents or grandparents had it? I couldn't look at Jake. I stared at the screen, at the tiny form of my daughter, and felt the world shifting beneath me. The drive home was silent. Jake's hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. Mira, he finally said as we entered our apartment. Is there something you need to tell me? I could have lied again, could have talked about recessive genes or random mutations, could have accused him of not trusting me. But the weight of months of deception had become too heavy. The baby isn't yours, I said, the words hollow in my throat. He stared at me, waiting for more, an explanation, an apology, something that would make this bearable. When I offered nothing, his face hardened. Whose is it? A man named Ethan. You don't know him. How long? Does it matter? It matters to me. The sudden shout made me flinch. Jake never raised his voice. Was it once? A one-night stand I could maybe understand, but 2 months, I admitted. It lasted 2 months. He turned away, hand over his mouth, shoulders shaking. When he looked back, his eyes were red but dry. Why are you telling me now? Why not before, when I could have? He stopped, took a breath. Were you ever going to tell me? Or were you just going to let me raise another man's child? I wish I could say I handled this moment with dignity, that I expressed remorse, that I tried to make things right, but the truth is, a strange, hysterical laugh bubbled up from my chest. I don't know, I said, the laughter turning into something closer to sobs. I don't know what I was thinking. It all just happened. It happened, he repeated flatly. 5 years together, and that's what you have to say? It happened? He looked at me like I was a stranger, and maybe I was, maybe I had become someone even I didn't recognize. Jake packed a bag that night. He removed the engagement ring from my finger, his touch gentle even in his anger. That almost broke me, that he could still be gentle after what I'd done. I hope you and Ethan are very happy together, he said at the door. Does he know about the baby? I shook my head. Jake's laugh was bitter. Of course not. Good luck, Mira. I really mean that. You're going to need it. The door closed behind him, and just like that, my carefully constructed life collapsed. I called Ethan the next day. My hands shook as I dialed his number, half expecting it to be disconnected. He answered on the 3rd ring. Mira? His voice was cautious, surprised. It's been a while. I need to see you, I said, cutting to the chase. It's important. We met at a coffee shop, neutral territory. I ordered herbal tea, conscious of the baby inside me. When Ethan arrived, his eyes immediately went to my stomach. You're pregnant, he stated, sitting down slowly. Is it? Yes, I said. It's yours. I'm having a girl. I had expected, what? Joy, confusion, anger? What I got was worse, indifference thinly veiled as concern. Wow, he said, leaning back in his chair. That's a lot to process. How are you feeling? Honestly, terrible. Jake found out the baby isn't his. He left. Ethan nodded, as if this was the most natural thing in the world. That's rough, but maybe for the best, right? Honesty and all that. I stared at him, really seeing him for the first time. The charisma that had seemed so intoxicating now looked like practiced charm. The artistic passion now seemed like self-absorption. Ethan, I said carefully, I'm telling you this because you're the father. I thought you should know. He rubbed his neck, looking uncomfortable. Look, Mira, you're amazing, and I'm sure you'll be a great mom. But he trailed off, searching for words. But you don't want to be involved, I finished for him. It's not that I don't want to be, he clarified quickly. It's just, I'm not in a position to be a father right now. I'm leaving for Berlin next month, got a residency at this gallery. It's a huge opportunity. I sat there, tea growing cold, as Ethan explained all the reasons why he couldn't possibly be tied down by a child. By my child. By our child. I'll help financially, of course, he said, as if offering money somehow absolved him of responsibility. We can work something out. I declined his offer. Pride, perhaps, or the dawning realization that I wanted nothing from this man. We parted with awkward promises to stay in touch that we both knew were lies. Walking home alone, I placed my hands on my belly and whispered to my daughter, "Looks like it's just you and me, kid." Pregnancy alone is harder than I ever imagined. There was no one to rub my back when it ached, no one to run out for ice cream when cravings hit at midnight, no one to reassure me when anxiety about labor kept me awake. My mother flew in from Phoenix for a week, helping me set up a nursery in my now too expensive apartment. We painted the walls a soft sage green, assembled a crib, folded tiny clothes into neat piles. "You can still come home, you know," she said one night as we sat sorting baby socks. "Dad and I have plenty of room." The offer was tempting, but moving back to my childhood home felt like admitting complete defeat. "I need to figure this out on my own," I told her. "But thank you." My friends tried to be supportive, but there was always an undercurrent of judgment. I couldn't blame them. Many had been Jake's friends too, had seen how devastated he was. They organized a small baby shower, brought gifts and cake, but conversations grew strained whenever the subject of the baby's father came up. "Have you heard from Jake?" my friend Cassie asked during one brunch 6 months into my pregnancy. I shook my head. "He blocked me on everything. Can't say I blame him." "Well," Cassie hesitated, "I saw him last weekend at Tom's birthday thing." My heart stuttered. "How is he?" "He's good. He's seeing someone, a woman from his gym. She seems nice." I nodded, forcing a smile. "That's great. I'm happy for him." Later, alone in my apartment, I sobbed until my throat was raw. Not because Jake had moved on, he deserved happiness, but because I suddenly understood what I had thrown away. Not just Jake, but the life we could have had, the family we could have built. All for what? A fleeting excitement that had left me more alone than I'd ever been. My daughter arrived on a rainy Tuesday in October. 20 hours of labor, most of it spent with only a nurse for company. My mother had planned to be there, but got delayed by storms in Phoenix. When they finally placed Lily on my chest, red-faced and screaming, I felt a love so fierce it took my breath away. "Hello, beautiful," I whispered, counting her tiny fingers and toes. "I've been waiting for you." The nurse smiled, taking a picture on my phone. "Your first family photo," she said kindly. Family, just me and Lily. It wasn't what I had planned, but looking at her perfect face, I knew I would do anything to give her the life she deserved. Motherhood is both harder and more beautiful than I imagined. Lily is now 18 months old, a whirlwind of energy with dark curls and a laugh that can brighten the darkest day. She has Ethan's eyes, but thankfully, my temperament. She's curious about everything, determined to explore every corner of our new, smaller apartment. I had to downsize 6 months after her birth when my maternity leave ended and financial reality hit. My job took me back part-time, which was both a blessing and a curse. More time with Lily, less money for expenses that seemed to multiply daily. Ethan sends a check every month, not much, but enough to help with childcare costs. He's still in Berlin, extending his residency. He video calls once every few months. Awkward conversations where he coos at Lily while she stares blankly at the screen. Too young to understand, this stranger is her father. It was a Tuesday when I saw Jake again. I was at the grocery store, Lily strapped to my chest in a carrier, when I turned down the cereal aisle, and there he was. He looked good, better than I remembered. More filled out, hair shorter, a new confidence in his stance. He noticed me before I could retreat. His eyes widened, then dropped to Lily, who was happily gumming a teething toy. "Mira," he said, voice carefully neutral. "Hi. Jake, it's good to see you." The silence stretched, uncomfortable and loaded with history. "This is Lily," I finally said, adjusting the carrier so he could see her face. "She's 18 months now." He nodded, a tight smile not reaching his eyes. "She's beautiful." "Thank you. How have you been?" "Good. Really good, actually. I switched firms last year. Better position, better pay." "That's wonderful. I'm happy for you." Another silence. A woman appeared at his side carrying a basket of produce, pretty, with kind eyes and a questioning smile. "Oh, sorry," Jake said. "This is Emma." "Emma, this is Mira, an old friend." "Friend." The word stung, but I deserved far worse. Emma's smile brightened. "Nice to meet you, and who's this little cutie?" "This is Lily," I said, forcing warmth into my voice. "She's adorable," Emma said, genuine. "How old?" 18 months, just starting to really find her voice. "The best age," Emma said with a knowing look. "I have a nephew about the same age. They're like little sponges at this stage." Jake watched our exchange with an unreadable expression. When Emma excused herself to grab something from another aisle, we were left alone again. She seems wonderful, I said softly. She is, Jake agreed. After a pause, he added, we're engaged, getting married in the spring. The news hit like a physical blow, though I had no right to feel anything. Congratulations, truly, he studied me for a moment. Are you okay, Mira, with everything, with Lily? The unexpected concern in his voice nearly undid me. We're managing. It's not always easy, but she's worth it. Jake nodded, eyes lingering on Lily. And her father? Is he in Berlin? He sends money, calls sometimes. It's complicated. I'm sorry to hear that. Don't be. I made my choices. Emma returned, placing a box of pasta in their basket. Ready to go, babe? Jake nodded, then hesitated. Take care of yourself, Mira, and Lily too. You too, Jake. Be happy. I watched them walk away, Jake's arm around Emma's waist, their movements in sync. The life I could have had, walking away for the second time. Lily babbled something, tugging at my hair. I kissed the top of her head, breathing in her sweet baby scent. You're right, I whispered to her. We're going to be just fine. The reckoning. Seeing Jake again forced me to confront truths I'd been avoiding. That night, after putting Lily to bed, I sat on my small balcony with a glass of wine and truly faced what I had done. I had betrayed someone who loved me. I had lied, repeatedly, selfishly. I had actually laughed when my world fell apart, not from humor, but from some broken place inside me that couldn't process the damage I was causing. For the first time, I allowed myself to feel the full weight of my actions without excuses or self-pity. It hurt, but it was a cleansing sort of pain. The next morning, I called my therapist, the one I had started seeing after Lily was born, to help with what I thought was postpartum depression, but turned out to be something deeper, more fundamental. I saw Jake yesterday, I told her. He's engaged, happy. And how did that make you feel? Dr. Chen asked. Sad, relieved, jealous, if I'm being honest. But mostly I felt like maybe it's time I stopped defining myself by the worst thing I ever did. That's a powerful realization, Mira. I've been stuck. I continued, the words flowing now. Stuck in this narrative where I'm the villain, where I don't deserve happiness because of what I did to Jake. But Lily deserves a mother who isn't carried down by guilt. I can't change the past, but I can choose what happens next. That conversation marked a turning point. I started making changes, small at first, then more significant. I joined a single parents group where I found friendship without judgment. I applied for a promotion at work and got it, easing some of the financial pressure. I even reached out to Ethan, not with expectations but with boundaries. Lily needs consistency, I told him during one of his sporadic calls. Either be present in her life or don't, but this in-between isn't fair to her. He promised to do better, and surprisingly, he has been. Monthly video calls have become weekly. He's planning a visit for her second birthday. It's not a traditional family, but it's becoming something workable. The moving forward. 2 years after that day in the grocery store, life has found a new rhythm. Lily is now 3.5, fiercely independent and endlessly chatty. She spends one weekend a month with Ethan, who moved back from Berlin 6 months ago and lives across town. He's not the father I would have chosen for her, but he loves her in his way, and she adores him. I've started dating again cautiously, with clear eyes about who I am and what I want. There's a man named Alex who makes me laugh, who understands that Lily comes first, who knows my history and doesn't judge me for it. Last week, I received a wedding invitation in the mail. Jake and Emma's. My first instinct was to wonder why they would invite me, until I read Emma's handwritten note. Jake wasn't sure about sending this, but I insisted. You were an important part of his life for many years. We're expecting our first child in the fall. I know this might be awkward, but I believe in healing and moving forward. No pressure to attend, but know you're welcome. Emma. I cried reading it, for what was lost, for Jake's happiness, for Emma's extraordinary grace. I'm not sure if I'll go, but the invitation itself feels like absolution I never expected. Tonight, as I tucked Lily into bed, she asked about her father, as she sometimes does. Daddy said I can have a kitten at his house, she informed me, clutching her favorite stuffed bunny. Can I have one here too? We'll see, I said, smoothing her hair. Maybe when you're a little older. She nodded, accepting this compromise. Mommy, are you happy? The question caught me off guard. Yes, sweetheart, I'm very happy. Why do you ask? Because Alex said he wants to make you happy forever. Is that a long time? I smiled, making a mental note to ask Alex exactly what he'd been telling my perceptive daughter. Forever is a very long time. But yes, I'm happy now, and that's what matters most. After she fell asleep, I stood in the doorway watching her, this miraculous person who came from my greatest mistake. The path that led me here was twisted and painful, marked by choices I'm not proud of. But looking at my daughter, I can't bring myself to regret where I ended up. I laughed when Jake found out the baby wasn't his. Now I'm alone raising a child while he moved on. But alone doesn't mean what I thought it did. I'm surrounded by my daughter's love, by friends who stood by me, by family who never gave up, by the possibility of new beginnings. And moved on doesn't mean forgotten. It means finding a way forward, carrying the lessons of the past without being buried by them. Jake found his way. Now finally I'm finding mine.